Good morning, students. Chapter 7, Human Health and Diseases. In the previous class, we have discussed about the bacterial diseases, and in today's class, we are going to discuss about the viral diseases. Viruses are the smallest intracellular obligate parasites. So, viruses also microscopic organisms. They can be seen only under the microscope, and they have characteristics of both living and non-living. Inside the cell, they behave as living organisms. So inside the cell or inside the host, it behaves as a living organism, and outside the host, it behaves as a non-living organisms. And they multiply within the living cells. So outside the living cells, they cannot carry out the characteristics of a living organisms. Viruses invade the living cells. So usually they invade the living cells and they force the cells to create new viruses. So when a virus enters inside the cell, it forces the cells to create many new viruses, and they multiply and increase their number. The new viruses break out of the cells, killing it and invade the other cells in the body, causing diseases in human. Rhinoviruses cause one of the most infectious human ailment called as the common cold. So usually common cold is caused by more than hundreds of viruses. So there is no treatment for common cold. And one of the important viruses which cause common cold is rhinoviruses. Viral diseases are generally grouped into 4 types on the basis of the symptoms produced in the body. So based on the symptoms produced in our body, the viral diseases are categorized into 4 types. First one is Pneumotrophic diseases, that means respiratory tract infections, which is mainly caused by the influenza. So pneumotrophic diseases means they are mainly respiratory tract infections which is caused by influenza. Next is dermotrophic diseases. Dermo itself means skin. So diseases which mainly affects the skin and the subcutaneous tissues. Example, chicken pox and measles. So dermotrophic diseases means it mainly affects the skin and the subcutaneous tissues. Example, chicken pox and measles. And next one is viscerotrophic diseases. Viscerotrophic diseases means that is diseases which mainly affects the blood and the visceral organs. Visceral organ means all the important organs which are present inside our body. Example, heart, kidney, lungs, liver, all this comes under visceral organs. Example, yellow fever and Dengue fever. So viscerotrophic diseases means blood and visceral organs affected by yellow fever and dengue fever. Next is neurotrophic diseases. Neurotrophic diseases means mainly the central nervous system, that is the brain, gets affected by rabies and polio. So these diseases, rabies and polio, mainly affects the brain, that is the central nervous system. Next we will see some of the, that is common viral diseases in human. So we will see one by one. So viral diseases which affects the human beings. Here we will discuss about the name of the disease, causative agent, that is the main causative agent which cause the disease, and site of infection means that is the organs which is mainly affected, and mode of transmission is how it is transmitted from one person to another person, and what are all the symptoms of the disease. First we will take the common cold. So common cold mainly attacks all the individuals in a population, So the causative agent is rhinovirus. So the causative agent for common cold is rhinovirus, and mainly it affects the respiratory tract, that is the nasal root, nose, then the trachea, all this comes under the respiratory tract. Mode of transmission means droplet infection. When a person sneeze, cough, means these droplets, when inhaled by other normal person, this virus is transmitted and cause the common cold. Symptoms are nasal congestion and discharge, that is discharge of mucus in the nose. We'll commonly say sali, and sore throat, that is sore means that is tondaipun, sore throat means tondaipun, cough and headache. So these are the symptoms of the common cold. Next we'll see about the mumps. Mumps is caused by the mumps virus, that is RNA virus. It is paramyxovirus. It mainly affects the salivary glands. So the mumps mainly affects the salivary glands, and mode of transmission is saliva and droplet infections. And what are the symptoms means enlargement of the parotid glands. So the parotid glands get enlarged. So these are the symptoms of the mumps. Next is measles. Measles are caused by rubella virus, that is RNA virus, the same virus which affects mumps. Here it mainly affects the skin and the respiratory tract. So mainly the skin and the respiratory tract gets affected, and mode of transmission is by droplet infection. The symptoms are sore throat, running nose, cough and fever, reddish rashes on the skin, neck and ears. So these are the symptoms of the disease measles. Next is viral hepatitis. Viral hepatitis means it is caused by a causative agent, hepatitis B virus. The organ which is mainly affected is liver. So hepatitis mainly affects the liver, and mode of transmission is parental route or blood transfusion. So when the blood is transferred from one person to another person, when it is not properly tested, then the disease is caused. And parenteral route means through injection, when the injection is not properly sterilized, and when injection used by a diseased person without proper sterilization, when it is administered to a normal person, the disease is caused. And the symptoms are liver damage, mainly the liver gets damaged, jaundice, Tamil will say manchal kamalai, nausea means vomiting sensation, yellowish eyes, fever and pain in the abdomen. So these are the symptoms of the disease viral hepatitis. And next is chicken pox. Chicken pox is mainly caused by varicella zoster virus. The name of the virus is varicella zoster virus, and site of infection is mainly it affects the respiratory tract, skin and the nervous system. So the disease mainly it affects the nervous system, that is the brain, respiratory tract and skin. It is also mainly transmitted through droplet infection and direct contact. When a normal person touches the diseased person, it is transmitted, and also it is transmitted through droplet infection. Symptoms are mild fever with itchy skin. So fever is common, itchy skin, rash and blisters. Blisters means copulum. So these are the symptoms of the disease chicken pox. Next is poliomyelitis. It is caused by the virus called as poliovirus, that is RNA virus. And the organ which is mainly affected is intestine, brain, spinal cord. So these are the organs affected by polio viruses. So mainly it affects the brain, intestine and spinal cord. And transmission is through droplet infection through fecal oral route. What do you mean by fecal oral route? Means sometimes the fecal matter, that is the stools, it gets contaminated in the food and water. So when a person takes the contaminated food and water. So the disease is caused. Symptoms: fever, muscular stiffness and weakness. Paralysis means, for example, a particular side of the body will be non-functional. And respiratory failure. So these are the symptoms of the disease poliomyelitis. Next is dengue fever. It is called as break-bone disease. The disease name is break-bone disease, and it is caused by dengue virus or flavivirus, that is DENV14 virus, and mainly it affects the skin and the blood. Mainly destroys the blood platelets, which is responsible for the clotting mechanism. So mode of transmission is to vector, that is mosquito vector Aedes aegypti. So through this mosquito vector only it is transmitted. The symptoms are severe flu-like illness with a sudden onset of fever and painful headache, muscle and joint pain. So these are the symptoms of the dengue fever. Next is chikungunya. It is caused by alpha virus, that is toga virus. It mainly affects the nervous system, and it is also caused by a vector, that is mosquito vector Aedes aegypti. Symptoms are fever and joint pain, headache and joint swelling. So these are the symptoms of the disease chikungunya. So far we have discussed the viral diseases. So these are the common viral diseases. So the common viral diseases are, that is common cold, mumps, measles, viral hepatitis, chickenpox, poliomyelitis, dengue fever, chikungunya. So in the next class we'll discuss about the protozoan diseases. So go through this topic. Thank you.